So welcome back to Accounting with Madam Mumbi. In this tutorial, we are going to look at part 2 of accounting for errors. Specifically, we are going to look at errors that affect the trial balance. So this is a continuation. I hope you have watched part 1, where I was looking at errors that do not affect the trial balance. Now, to begin with, the errors that affect the trial balance here, it means that the trial balance does not agree. The debit and the credit in the trial balance are not equal. So here, outrightly, by just simply looking at the totals in the trial balance, you're able to notice there is an error. These errors relate to, number 1, postings of transactions on one side of the account. For example, there is a cash purchase. You have bought something on cash basis. And now you simply go to the cash book and credit. So the credit is done, but you don't do the debit. Therefore, in this case, you are saying the purchases is not debited. That is a transaction that has been posted on one side of the account. So we are saying you have bought something on cash basis, you are quick to go to the cash book and credit, but to the item bought here like purchases, you do not debit. That is a posting of a transaction on one side, and it is going to result into misbalance of the trial balance. Okay, another error would be posting on transactions on one side for both of the accounts. Back to my example. You have bought some goods on cash, all right? Then you debit purchases and also debit cash. So here what am I saying? Instead of debiting one account and crediting another account, both of the accounts are debited or both of the accounts are credited, so that the transaction ends up being posted on one side for the both accounts. So eventually this is not going to let our trial balance to agree. So we're going to find that the trial balance does not agree. Now we need to correct that. Another one would be a transaction is posted correctly but different amounts. So again, you purchased goods for shillings 300 by cash. You paid by cash. Therefore, you're supposed to debit purchases 300. You go to cash and credit 300. But now, by error, you debit purchases with 3,000, adding there 10. Then going to the credit, you do it correctly. You credit 300. So here the error is that it was done correctly. The right accounts, you have debited purchases. You have credited cash, but with different amounts. While one you have debited 3,000, by error, you have credited the other with 300 shillings, which was the correct entry according to my example. Here the trial balance will not agree. That is another error that does affect the trial balance. The others are mathematical errors. Probably when you are balancing the accounts in the ledgers, there are mathematical errors, additions, subtractions, possible mathematical errors. These again, they are going to affect the balancing of the trial balance. Finally, you would also have, when you are bringing balances, either from the trial balance or from the ledgers, you pick the wrong balances. Either you pick the wrong balances or you place them on the wrong side. So this is an issue of just either you're picking the wrong balances. Probably you did not check carefully which account has which balance. You just take a balance, but it is from the wrong account. Or you take a balance to the wrong side, so that a balance that was supposed to be debited, you credit probably. So here we are saying that the balances shown on the wrong side of the accounts when you're opening the ledgers, either as you take them from the accounts or from the trial balance. Now, single posting is the first error here. We are saying single posting on one side, posting on one side for the two accounts. All these errors, they affect the trial balance. Now, one side of the trial balance, either the debit or the credit, will end up having a lesser amount. So the side with a lesser amount, we are going to introduce something we call a suspense account. So the balance, which represents the difference between the debit and the credit of the trial balance, that amount is going to be posted to an account that we call a suspense account. So to correct these errors, we need to open a suspense account. So this brings us to the suspense account. We have said that a suspense account is an account that is prepared for adjusting the entries that correct the errors. So at the beginning, you do not know which errors have occurred. You just realize the trial balance did not agree. And on the side with a lesser amount, either the debit or credit, the difference to bring it to the equal amount is what you are going to debit or credit to this suspense account, as we are going to see in our question. And then finally, you're going to correct the errors after you discover all of them. And the suspense account, it does not have a running balance. You have to duly complete it, and once all errors are corrected, it has to be brought to a balance of 0 or nil balance. So for us to be able to achieve this, let us have a question here. It says that a bookkeeper extracted a trial balance on 31st December 2022, but failed to agree by shillings 23,800. A shortage on the credit side of the trial balance. So what you are saying, once you open the suspense account, this shortage of 23,800 is going to be credited to the suspense account because the shortage is on the credit side. Okay? So, in January 2023, the following errors were found to have been made. So, number one is that the sales had been overcast by shillings 1,500. So, sales account was overstated. We are going to need to correct this error. So, number two, return outwards account had not been credited with shillings 6,132. So this was not recorded. We are going to record. Receipt from a debtor of shillings 15,000 was only entered in the cash book. This is single posting. They put in the cash book, but they forgot to put in the debtor's account. Then a cash purchase of shillings 232 had been recorded in cash book only. Again, another single posting. It was recorded in cash book only. Finally, shillings 2,200 received from a debtor had been debited to his account. So we received money from a debtor. Instead of crediting his account, we debited his account. Now we have to correct that error. So what is required is journal entries to correct the above errors, and then we prepare a suspense account. So you can take a minute to capture the question, and then we are going to proceed and answer it. So we are going to prepare the journal entries. So we are going to begin with the first one. The first journal entry is that it says there that sales had been overcast by shillings 1,500. So what you are saying that in the sales account, this is the sales account. The amount here has an extra 1,500. It has an extra 1,500 because the sales has been overcast. This is sales account. It has been overcast by shillings 1,500. So it has the right amount, XX, but an above it there is 1500. So we need to correct this error. So what we need to do is we want to decrease it by 1500. So we are going to come here on the debit side and decrease it by 1500. So simply what you are going to do to correct the errors, journal entries, so we are going to debit the sales. Then we can have a column here for debit and a column here for credit. So we are going to debit the sales by 1500. And you are saying, since it had been overcast, we are reducing by debiting. So we are going to debit the sales with 1500. Automatically, because the other account did not have an issue, this is going to be taken to the suspense account. So the other entry goes to suspense account. So we can also put a narration to correct overcast sales. So you can put there a narration which is to correct overcast sales. Then the second error, it says that the return outwards account had not been credited with shillings 6,132. So this one is easy. If it had not been done, we are simply going to do that. So we are being told it was not credited, therefore we are just going to simply credit. So we are going to go to the account of return outwards, and we are going to just simply credit the amount of 6132. Because that is what the error says had not been done. And since it has not been done, we are simply going to do it. Now, the other amount goes to suspense. Because we have said that these errors that affect the trial balance, they are corrected through the suspense account. Then, again, a narration to correct return outwards not recorded. You can have to correct return outwards not recorded. The next one, number 3, is that cash that was received from a debtor. We received 15,000 from a debtor, but it was not recorded in the debtor's account. So let me come back here and say that we have received. So simply, we received maybe cash from a debtor, 1500. Therefore, we debited cash. This has been done. But we did not finish. We did not credit the debtor. This is what we are saying single posting. So this was done. That was done. But this crediting of the debtor after receiving money from the debtor, and by the way, when we are crediting a debtor, we are reducing the amount of money he owes us. So simply once he pays, we credit the debtor to reduce the amount of money that we are demanding from the debtor. So this was not done. This has not been done. We simply debited the cash, forgot to credit the debtor. So simply what you are going to do to correct this error, we are going to credit the debtor by 15,000. And since the debit had already been done, we cannot now again do it. We are going to post this to the suspense account. So we are going to post it to the suspense account. So again, we say to correct receipt from debtor, and the narration can be in your words in any way you understand it, but we can just simply say to correct receipts from debtors omitted or not recorded. omitted from his account. Omitted from his account. Or not recorded in his account. That is number 3. Number 4, a cash purchase of shillings 232 was recorded in the cash book only. Again, what you are saying here is that you have bought. You have made a purchase by cash. So you have gone to cash and reduced by 232. You are supposed to also debit purchases by 232. So you are supposed to debit purchases by 232 because you have made some purchases for goods. You are supposed to credit cash by 232. So it has been recorded in the cash book only. So this has been done. In the cash book it has been done, but this has not been done. So you have not debited the purchases. So simply what is the right thing to do is to do the debit to the purchases. So this again brings us to debit the purchases by shillings 232. Then, because the credit has been done, the credit had already been done to the cash book, we are going to put this to the suspense account. 232. To correct single posting error. So we are called this a single posting error, whereby we just did the posting in one account, hereby the cash account, but we did not record in the other account here the purchases. So the next one, the last one we can have, it says there that amount received from a debtor, we received an amount from a debtor, shillings 2,200, was debited to his account. Alright, here there is a big problem. Remember that a debtor is simply somebody who owes us money. He buys goods on credit. So the day the debtor bought some goods, we are going to debit his account the day the debtor buys some goods on credit. Then when he buys, we are going to credit sales. This is what happens when a debtor buys. We debit the debtor, we credit sales. Now, we have received some money from the debtor. Therefore, the debtor is paying some of this money. He is paying some of this money. Hereby, they have paid us shillings 2,200. What is the right thing to do? The right thing to do, because the debtor has thereby we have received money from the debtor, is simply to reduce the amount in his account or to reduce the amount owing. So the right thing was to credit. But here we are being told we received the money, but instead we debited his account. So we came here and debited his account. So that is why I'm saying it's a big problem, because we have increased the amount that he owes us instead of reducing the amount that he owes us. So what we are going to do here now to correct this error, number one, we have to credit 2,200 to the debtor's account. This first time you're crediting, you're simply saying plus 1 minus 1. That is, this error is now corrected. You had put here by mistake 1,200, you have credited 1,200, not 12 but 2,200. You have corrected the error. But now do the right thing. The right thing was to credit the debtor with shillings 2,200. So for us to correct this error whereby you debit instead of crediting, you have to pass the error 2 times. You have to pass the posting 2 times. And in accounting, you don't pass a posting 2 times. You simply multiply the amount by 2. So simply you are going to multiply by 2, which is going to give us 4,400. and it shall not affect the sales account. The sales account was properly recorded. The cash account was properly recorded when we received the shillings 2,200. Cash has already been debited. The error is here in the debtors account. That again, instead of now crediting, we ended up debiting. And now we have to correct this error. So for us to correct this error, we are going to debit suspense account. Then we are going to credit the debtor account. But as I've said here, it will be by double the amount. And I've said the first one, it is to remove the error. It was debited, you have credited, you have removed the net effect of the error, plus 1 minus 1, 0. Now, you credit again, this time to do the right thing that you are supposed to do. So the total credit will be 4,000. So 4,400, sorry. So we are going to debit and credit 4,400. Then we can say to correct a wrong debit to debtors account. So you can say that it is just to correct a wrong debit to debtors account. Now, this is how you do the journals to correct the errors affecting the trial balance. But it does not end there. We have to prepare the suspense account. So again, we can prepare the suspense account. We can prepare the suspense account. It is going to begin with the balance of the shortage. So the balance of the shortage, we had been told that the shortage was on the credit side, and it was of 23,800. That is the balance, and it was on the credit side, the shortage. Then, for each of the mention of the suspense account, we are going to do what we have said here. Like now, in the first correction here, we said we are going to credit suspense. Here is the suspense. Do exactly what you have said here. You have said you are going to credit the suspense. So come here, credit 1,500. Come here and credit 1,500. Now, because here we cannot come to the suspense account and put the description as suspense, we are going to say it is coming from sales. In the second one, you have said here you are going to debit the suspense. Do exactly that. Come here and debit the suspense. That is a debit to the suspense, and we are saying the description is going to be the other account where it is coming from, which is return outwards. So the description here is going to be return outwards. Then again here we have said we are going to debit suspense with 15,000. We are going to do that. We are going to debit suspense, but this time it's coming from debtors account. Here we have said we are going to credit suspense. Here we are going to credit suspense, and it is coming from purchases. And finally here we have said we are going to debit suspense coming from debtors. So coming from debtors, we are going to debit suspense with 4,400. And now automatically the suspense account should self-balance. If you have corrected all the errors, it is going to balance by 25,532. And here it is also going to balance with 25,532. So our suspense account now is fully balanced, or is duly balanced. It marks the correction of errors. These are errors that affect the trial balance. And we have said that errors affecting the trial balance, they have to be corrected through a suspense account. And going back, This is what we had here. We have answered this question. That sales had been overcast, therefore we have reduced the sales by debiting. Return outwards had not been credited, we have credited. Receipts from a debtor of 15 had only been entered in the cash book. We have also entered in the debtors account. Cash purchases had been recorded in cash book only. We have recorded in purchases. And this amount received from a debtor that was wrongly debited, we have credited, multiplied by 2. So this marks the end of accounting for errors affecting the trial balance. If you found it to be helpful, kindly like, share, and subscribe. Also, ring the notification bell so that you can get notifications for more uploads. Thank you.